how soon will you go out and identify the best schools in Pittsburgh and get in there and meet the coaches and DC and the surrounding?
Yeah, try to do that in January. You know, as we try to be as efficient as possible as we made through in January. I think I was out every day but 2 that legally could be. Weather got us 1 day. But got in several high schools here in West Virginia, spent a day in Pittsburgh, spent 2 in DC. Didn't get into Ohio as much this time as I will when I have the next opportunity. But we did. You know, we were all in that footprint as much as we possibly could, while trying to chase the signees and going to see the guys that signed in December as well. You know, that's the thing. Like, people don't think about it, but really probably the biggest disadvantage to getting into a situation late is in January. What most of our competitors are doing is they're probably going to sign 2 to 5 today at the most, but they're 2020 and 2021 recruiting. Okay. Well, what we did, we tried to get as much as in many schools and to chase as many 20 and 21 kids as we could. But our primary function was to make sure the December guys were in good shape and trying to secure the signees that we did sign. So we're a little bit, you know, as crazy as it sounds, we're sitting here in February, we're probably a little bit behind on that, definitely on the 20 class, but even the 21 class.
How nice and how different is it to be out from under the shadow of Alabama and Auburn and your recruiting?
Yeah, you know, that's a really good question. I'll say that. It's not something that Troy really thought about a whole lot. You know, it was kind of what it was. You know, weren't necessarily going to go head to head and beat the Alabama and the Auburn. What we were trying to do is those schools were recruiting nationally, so we were trying to really fit and make us have a really strong geographic footprint right there in Alabama. But I think being the state here and having a strong brand within this geographic footprint is critical. We feel like that we can compete and win against anybody, you know, if we do our job and we're diligent and build relationships, and that we should have as good a chance as anybody in West Virginia and all the states that surround it.
And Neal, this isn't a staff question, but it kind of is. Off the field people, you've added a bunch of, I don't know what label you use, but support people for recruiting and on-campus stuff. It's quite a few, but I'm just curious your philosophy for that and what they do and what needs they do for you.
Yeah, so again, we'll probably answer. I'll do a better job of answering this later. Okay, and not trying to dodge your question by any means. I think what we're trying to do is be competitive with the people we're going against. And recruiting is and you know this, right? So recruiting it's such a long process now, such an in-depth process that I think you need multiple people. You need a recruiting division almost within your staff, and that's what we're trying to establish here. We've got we've hired some, we made some hires. We've got some additions to make, and hopefully we'll do that here in the near future.
With as much experience as Vic has over the decades, what do those evaluation conversations look like? I'm sure there's been a player where this is a guy, and you were like, as the final say, maybe a little wishy-washy. Yeah. What do those evaluations look like as you guys discuss players?
Yeah, there's a lot of trust involved. Honestly, you know, we've been together now going on 5 years. If you look at his history and the amount of NFL players he's produced and the production he's had across the board at all the positions within his defensive scheme, that all it stops. So there's a lot of trust there. You know, feel like that as a staff we've done a good job evaluating. You know, even before I was a head coach, as a coordinator and things like that, we feel like we've done a good job of identifying talent. You know, I always talk about there's 3 things that you got to do. Number one, you got to be good enough as a player. You know, because when you're watching tape, if the kid's not good enough, you don't ever get past that. You know, it's either yes or no. So yes, he is. Then it goes to an academic evaluation. Can he be successful? Is he going to be a qualifier? Can he be successful at the college level? So if the answer is no to that, you stop. If the answer is yes to that, then you go to the character question. And then can he make it within our program? Is he the kind of type of guy we want representing our program? So if the answer to those 3 things is yes, and it's a schematic fit, then that's the guy we go on. But I do, if Vic feels strongly, we've had our disagreements. You know, as the head coach, I got final say. But if he feels really good about a prospect and their evaluation, then he's definitely heard.
Curious about that. What is your approval process? Do you go the position coach, the coordinator? How does that go about?
Yeah, so it's a thinning out. You know, what it does is you got the initial evaluation, and then we're going to be an area recruiting staff. okay? And what I mean by that is everybody's gonna have geographic areas, and you're gonna go through your area, find the top prospects within that area. You'll be the main recruiter, and then the position coach will be involved as secondary recruiter, and as the head coach, you're always involved, okay? And that's the way we go about it. And I'll have final say. Obviously, I want those position coaches to have a lot of input between that in their rooms. I always tell me, don't complain about the people in your room. Now you chose them, don't come complaining to me about not having players if you chose them, right? So that's how we'll go about it.
And you work the numbers yourself? Or?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we'll work with Brian Bennett, who you'll meet if you haven't, our director of player personnel, and we'll work and figure out those numbers and what they look like.
Not necessarily a signing day question, but what's your philosophy on early official visits?
Probably too early to tell, honestly, and don't have a feel for them just yet. I want to kind of get here in the spring, and get a feel for what's the spring grade crowd look like, because I think that can be a huge benefit if we're well supported on the spring game, okay, which is going to be April 13th at 1 o'clock. If anybody's not, there you go. But it's and then how in the summer, I think you'll see fewer of them in this initial recruiting cycle until I get a good feel for everything that's here in Morgantown.
You mentioned you have 3 spots left. Definitely fill all 3 scholarships, and do they have to be immediate need guys?
No, it's to be determined. We want to try to find the 3 best players. If we don't, then we'll push them over, and that means we can sign up to 28 the next class.
Jefferson's 6'4", 300. I imagine there's not too many of them who are kind of highly recruited close to signing day.
Yeah.
When
It got interesting here late, even as late as last night. Yeah.
Yeah. So the urgency that's involved there, but also if it's relief is the right word, having at least a relationship where you're not coming in as like a scavenger in the last.
It does. It was. I think that's really what got us over the hump. And I think there was a lot of trust level there between Coach Leslie and his family, and myself, just because we've known him for a long time. That was a definite benefit. The other thing too is as you go through recruiting, so many decisions are made off junior tape, and what happens, especially late in the process, whether other schools lose people or things like that, they go back and really evaluate the senior tape, or in coaching transitions, they go back. And I think people went back and watched his senior tape and were like, wow, here's a kid that's one of the best, if not the best defensive lineman that's available.
Yeah, what about preferred walk-ons? What's your philosophy on that? What do you see happening here?
Well, I think if you look at our roster, Tony, and that's a great question, first of all, because I always feel like this is as a guy that went through that route at the University of Kentucky and earned a scholarship, I think those guys are really the glue of your football team. And there's a lot of passion in that, especially guys that are in state that earn a preferred walk-on opportunity, or just walk-on in general. I think you can go through our roster right now and you can see a lot of evidence of that. Guys that have really worked their way up, and whether they're being successful offense, defense, or special teams. So what we're doing is we're identifying those guys. There's some guys that have committed to us as preferred walk-ons. We're excited about them. I can't talk about them today. But that's something, our walk-on here, if you look at the success of the walk-ons at West Virginia, that's a legacy that we want to continue for sure.
Coach, it seems like ever since you got here, you've really hit the ground running. In the month that you've been the head coach, how much time have you spent in Morgantown?
That's fun. I've been here all Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays. Now, so the first week I was here the whole week, and the good thing about this is other than I'm speaking at a clinic in Columbus tomorrow night. Other than that, I'm here in Morgantown all week. So looking forward to getting in a routine. That's the thing. Really getting in a routine here. Family's moving this weekend, so excited to get all us under one roof again.
Have you been able to delegate which members of your staff will recruit what areas?
We're in the process of doing that. And what we'll do is when we announce the staff, that'll be a part of the release. Okay, and then y'all are going to have some question and answer opportunities with those guys too.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you all. Appreciate y'all being here today. Spring game is going to be April 13th, 1 o'clock. Okay, so looking forward to that. Y'all pump that out.